So for those who don't know, there are some leaks. There's leaks straight from Game Freak. This is from the Terra leak that happened last year. And then there's also
I would consider those the only leaks. The other ones.
And then there's and then there's also like, a lot of confident rumors that people are circulating online, but there's, it's difficult to call that a true leak when the other information that we have
to them, but
when the other information that we have is like literally from a Game Freak data mine. If you don't want to listen to the leaks, you can use the timestamps below to skip ahead. But I do think for this video, we do want to touch on what we can expect to see in Generation 10. This has to do with, themes, location of the region.
Yeah.
We have some code names for what the games are called and some other things. Fair warning to skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. Otherwise, I think Lumi can take it away.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and kick it off. Iron Man dies. It's
actually Han Solo.
I am Iron Man.
I
don't feel very good, Mr. Tony Stark.
But so the region is Greece. It seems that specifically it is the Cyclades, which is a group of islands within Greece. So it would actually not Greece is like there's like a mainland portion and then there's a bunch of islands. It's the islands.
By the way, I would still count this in like the not hard leaks because this is not from the Terra leak. The only thing I feel like you should, if you want to classify them,
that's fair.
The things from the things from the Terra leak are, maybe Lumi, you can take it away because I don't know if I'm going to cut out or anything, but just that they are an island nation, right?
Yeah, it's an island hopping adventure. There's going to be some themes of Pokemon affecting the environment and the environment affecting Pokemon. That seems to be a heavy theme in this. Like, this is all like from meetings that took place in the Terra leak. Where the stuff about Greece specifically comes from is you have first Ku was the first to kind of hint that it was Greece. Riddler Ku, for those who didn't know, is a guy who has been leaking at one point a 100% track record with like Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Track record did get admittedly shaky after that. Whether you want to attribute that to him being a liar or to things changing over time and thus he was just wrong.
Yeah.
It remains, up to you. But this guy does have a past of being able to leak stuff, and he has heavily implied that it is Greece. Then we also have some people who have like actively been kind of covering stuff that was happening in the in fact mentioned there, Ball Guy does mention that that was where the thing comes from about Gen 10 being set in the Cyclades specifically. But
I don't know if Ku actually has suggested that. I don't. We don't need to get into details like that, but I don't
feel like
I don't think that he has. The only thing he had was the praying hands, and I don't remember him saying anything about the specific region.
Let's keep this top level. Let's keep this top level for we do a lot of this leak coverage and analysis week to week, but let's just keep this high level right now for anyone new who may be listening.
I just don't want to put words in his mouth.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's for the people. The next thing you know, people are like, "Who said this?" And then he didn't actually say it. So
yeah.
From the Terra leak, we know that this project is going to be called Gaia.
Yep.
GAIA,
Yes.
and we can go into it when we cover it all, but there's speculation you can do on that. Specifically, there were two versions listed in the Terra leak, a K version and an N version. There is speculation that K could stand for Kaze and N could stand for Nami. Kaze, wind is what Kaze means, and then Nami means wave. So then hypothetically, the games would be Pokemon Winds and Waves.
Yeah.
That lines up with Game Freak talking about it being an island hopping adventure. And it seems that traveling between the islands is like an important part of this game. So like, and I say that to compare it to like in Alola, you didn't really travel between the islands. That was not an important part of the game. The stories were on the islands, but traveling between them was a quick cutscene until Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon gave you Mantine surfing. Whereas Game Freak has implied in their meetings that the emphasis in this region is that time you're going to take to get from Island 1 to Island 2.
Yeah. And for kind of what I'm imagining, right? Like what I'm imagining when I think of this game, when I play Scarlet and Violet, it feels like the biomes are expansive but barren. And I think the opportunity for this game is that even though the ocean is, vast and, on the surface, nothing's going on. Some other things that we've seen, and I think kind of what I'm imagining based on the power of the Switch 2 is that with all these new islands, every single new island that you go to is a chance for discovery, right? You could find new Pokemon, new characters, new items. It also seems like there might be the ability to not only fly, like in many other Pokemon games, but it seems like in this open world Pokemon game, you can dive underwater, which we've really only seen once or twice, only really once in a comprehensive way in the Hoenn games. But I think this game has the potential to really cater towards those of us almost like who enjoy exploration in video games. I think this could be a lot of fun, right? Every single new island, because again, this is like a fantasy region. It's the Pokemon world. They're not all going to be the same, tropical, biomes. They're going to be vastly different. You're going to have a fire island, an ice island, a fairy island, right? And you're going to have all sorts of characters in Pokemon. I think this could be a lot of fun. Really, really a lot of fun.
That's
something nice too.
That's actually a huge part. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about diving, like that's another thing that like got leaked from the Terra Leak is like an actual image of diving.
That is
something diving. Yeah. Yep. So we don't know what a lot of these things, right? These are just hints that we've thought about and we're kind of expanding them to, maybe as far as they can really go with the idea. We don't really know how much of this will be in here, but again, if we're thinking about the Switch 2, from what we've seen, from what people have told us, I think the Switch 2 can handle a lot. The Switch 2 can handle a game that's a lot more dynamic, especially and hopefully Game Freak can arise to meet the challenge.
And diving just makes sense too, because this is something that like Game Freak just like wanted to do and like has scrapped sometimes. You see it in Unova, you saw it in Hoenn. It was planned for Sun and Moon, but was scrapped.
Yep.
So it's believable as well.
And then
there is an image
out
there
thing,
of
actually.
a Lumineon diving under it's underwater and there's a Lumineon swimming.
Yep.
So you did want to say that that is like a thing that's out there. I believe that's our only Gen 10 image that's out there, though.
Yeah. And then some more speculation. Yeah. This is not the hard leaks, but I think it is pretty exciting. Again, this is the Generation 10, the Switch 2 Pokemon game that's coming out in 2026. Do you guys want to talk about this? The gimmick has to do with these like divine entities. Again, this is maybe soft leak, maybe confident rumor. I don't know how you want to categorize it.
Yeah, look, the fact is, I'm going to be honest, I don't trust this.
Okay.
I'm completely
then we don't even need to talk about it. Yeah.
No, I mean, we certainly can because it is based in something legit. Like, so where this comes from is there is coding from the Terra League for something called Majin.
Okay.
And
Majin is a code name in the Terra League.
Yeah, 100%. Before that was public knowledge. So before the world knew that Majin is in the Terra League, someone claimed, hey, the new gimmick in Gen 10 is called Majin, and detailed it. Then it came out that, Majin was actually mentioned in the Terra League.
Yeah.
So it has like that cred of like, that was a real thing in the Terra League, and this person wasn't just grabbing it, because so often you'll see that happen, like where a real leak will come out that like, oh, hey, Mega Charizard Z is happening. That's not a real leak, by the way, but hypothetically. Sure. And then right after that, all these 4chan posts will begin with like, Mega Charizard Z is happening, right? And so Yeah, I did want to say that where this is like where we're giving this attention is this person called Majin before it was known that Majin was like a legit thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So top level, level. What does Majin do? We got a lot more to move on to.
So top level, it is supposed to be this gimmick where basically the premise will be, and this kind of tells you a lot about the game's plot. There will be these like spiritual beings. They're like not Pokemon that are almost comparable to, in fact, they're inspired by like the Greek gods. So think like Greek gods in Pokemon, and you will be able to have your Pokemon like hold an item representative of a certain Greek god, and that will give it a certain kind of boost. And then
so it's like they're the attributes of the Greek gods. Let's say Zeus is thunder and strength. Let's say now my Charizard can be bestowed upon, it can absorb the power of electricity and strength, perhaps.
Sure, or maybe it's even just as simple as like Charizard gets an attack boost.
Great, yeah.
And then some Pokemon are, according to this, supposed to have a special form. So think about how every single Pokemon can Dynamax, but some Pokemon like Kingler or Blastoise can Gigantamax. Some Pokemon will take on a new appearance when they do this little special gimmick, and that new form would probably come with a more significant power boost. And obviously, it's a new form, so it would be a new Pokemon design.
This feels like a more specialized and maybe more well thought out Mega Evolution form. So I really enjoyed this.
The claim here is that it came from Game Freak. Really liked how the terrestrialization gimmick, and this actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. The terrestrialization gimmick is so successful purely because it's customizable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because I can make the choice to go, okay, I want my Urshifu to be Terra fighting so that my close combat hits harder, or I want my Urshifu to be Terra Steel so that now Play Rough is not very effective against it. And the idea here is, since there would be multiple Majin that you can, gimmick to, you can have the choice of, do I want, to use your example, Dusty, do I want my Charizard to do the little Zeus thing where it can take electric attacks well? Or do I want to do the Poseidon thing where it gains the water type,
Yes. That's fun, man. That's a lot of fun. So that's cool. That would be a really cool gimmick, I think. I'm looking at this. How much more? I guess some of this is a little bit in the weeds.
You don't even need to cover that stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of, we just gave a general overview of all of it anyway.
Oh, and then the other big thing is that
I think he covered it well.
Allegedly, again, this is one of the rumors
coming from the same person.
This is one of the rumors. Not calling this real. 120 new Pokemon for the Generation 10 games. 70 new designs
planned.
Are reportedly in final development stages. So that's a lot of Pokemon. A lot of Pokemon, new generation, big new game, Switch 2 title. It's exciting. I think there's some exciting stuff here.
Now, is it real or was someone's written to? Yeah. You decide.
Yes. What were you gonna say, Soul? He may have froze.
He's froze. Yeah.
I know. I think one of the more important things to say about it all is that it feels very, very much like a Alola 2.0. A lot of the ideas from Gen 7 are being reused here. And I think that that's important because that was the 20th anniversary. Yeah. And it's weird that they decided to do the same kind of thing for the 30th anniversary. But I think it's on purpose, and I think that they're bringing back a lot of the ideas that they didn't get to do in Alola, like diving. Yep. Like they literally were going to do diving in Alola. So
that's a really
it's just
good
important
point.
to look at all that stuff. So if they're bringing like 120 Pokemon, that's quite a bit compared to Alola, which had very few. Like Alola actually had one of the smallest dexes ever. Well, not dexes, but new Pokemon.
Smallest next to Kalos.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, if you don't count the megas. The thing is, Alola didn't have any forms either like that. So like it just had. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's a really good point.
So
it is also when you look at it like that if it's taking a lot of things from Alola and just what we know islands like this tropical setting is coming back from Alola. We know that diving is also it's planned for this game. It was planned at one point for Alola. And the interesting thing is, even daggum, I just realized this, even the detail of Game Freak talking about how it's going to be about how Pokemon can infect their environments, and then the environments can affect the Pokemon. Dude, that's regional variants, Oricorio, even the Tapus, all of that was very intrinsically tied to that same kind of theming. And the interesting thing is so one thing that was scrapped from Alola that I think I would almost bet, if there's one thing I can bet would be in Gen 10, is Survival Island. And that is, this was a scrap feature in Alola where you and 3 other players, it was the earliest form of the raid system, you and 3 other players would be dropped onto this island with mecha Pokemon that would be attacking you, and you'd have to survive on this island and also catch Pokemon. Again, the earliest version of the raid system. And this is just this is interesting because you see Game Freak, they implemented the raid system in their mainline games first in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then they expanded on it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and made it a little more where you're not having to sit there and just wait for your buddy to, hurry up and click his move.
True.
And I feel like this is that next step.
And I think I think we might actually be seeing some of the groundwork displayed in Legends Z. I think the new real-time combat in Legends EA could be something that is implemented into the main series games, into this Generation 10 title, but not in traditional battling, but instead in something kind of parallel, perhaps the raid system. I think that's possible.
Yeah, I think it's comparable to how the Let's Go feature had its own thing in Starfall Street.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. Yeah,
I love that so much, actually. If you could do the live action battles in the overworld of the game, that's actually really exciting to me, because you have that option. If you want to have something that's a little bit more competitive, and like that traditional turn-based chess style Pokemon battles, you can do that, but you have the option to do things a little bit more fluidly in the overworld.
We talked about this recently, but we can't leave out the Synchro Machine either, because it was a prototype in Gen 9, so I think that in Gen 10 it will be a feature.
That is
they state
be a feature
in
this game.
The Synchro Machine is just a prototype. They stated that outright in the game. So
and it was really successful for the DLC. There were so many people taking pictures. They still do, pictures and post it on social. It's such a engaging feature for the internet.
It's a social feature. Yeah. It's kind of
people are synchro machining as Rev-a-Vroom and racing.
Yeah.
And it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That is nice. So, okay, so Generation 10 is going to be a big title. I think Soul brought up something really key that this, because this is the 30th year anniversary, I do think they want to, I think some of the themes could be similar to what we saw in the 20th year anniversary game Sun and Moon. I'm expecting themes of nostalgia, celebration of the past.
Yes.
Alola was all about different types of, what would you say? I guess how an environment changes a person or a Pokemon, and then bringing those they're not cultures, but those different types of ways of life together. We could see something similar with this island hopping adventure.
Right. If I could say, if I could say something about it, I think the way that it would be different is that they kind of are going to flip it, in the sense where, like you were saying earlier, Dusty, each island isn't going to just be this tropical experience where it's just all the same culture, but each island is going to have its own culture and its own vibe, and that's basically from the Terra Leak as well. And the outer entities are what's going to affect the environment. Yeah. So it's going to be different in that way from Alola, and also what Lumi was talking about traveling. Because it's the same idea, but they're going to do it in a different way. Basically, that's what it seems like.
I can see it. So so Gen 10, we're going to get that likely at the end of 2026.